Hi, welcome to episode 448 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I have a website called thecornerofknitandtea.com where every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Sunday, November 5th, and I am actually recording a day early. Tomorrow I am planning to go up to Hamilton to go to Missouri Star headquarters and work, and that's going to leave me with a few extra hours of commuting, and so I didn't think I'd have time to get a podcast in, which means I don't have everything finished that I quite wanted to, but I decided that I wanted to just do a podcast and show you what I'm working on and kind of where I'm at with things. And not miss it. So it's a day early, but I hope you'll forgive me. And yeah, let's get into it. So today I am drinking number 512 Church Mouse Winter, which is a really great smoky black tea from Church Mouse Yarn and Tea Shop, which is on, I believe, Bainbridge Island in the Pacific Northwest. This is Stephen Smith Tea Maker, and it is one of their kind of like house teas that they carry. And this says, full flavored flowery Assam balanced by lighter, more fragrant Ceylons interwoven with golden triple threads of smoky China Yunnan. So it's just a basic black tea, and it is one of my favorites. This is one of the, I have boxes and boxes and boxes of bags of tea that I have ordered over time, because for a while I was ordering every week so that I had something to review on my blog way back when. And this is one of the few that, like, when it runs out, I'm definitely replacing it because it is one of my favorites. But I decided that a good cup of black tea would be great this afternoon, and I am having this in my funny birds mugs, so it's actual birds that sound slightly like swear words, and I guess it's my Dirty Birds mug, and I love it. So good afternoon. It's Sunday, about 3:45 in the afternoon, and I am working on chores and all kinds of things, but I'm really happy to be here. So let's talk about the knits. Oh, you know what? I forgot one. I'm just going to grab it. I'll be right back. So I have one finished object today, and that is Miles' hat. I started that last week and showed that to you. This was kind of the first half of it, and then the this was the second half of it, and as you can see, it kind of folds into one hat, and it is reversible. I made these for my niece and nephew for Christmas using Juniper Moon Farm Cumulus Rainbow, which is a cotton with just a little bit of viscose. It's a DK weight Israeli Mako cotton, and it is in a beautiful gradient. This one has something about prism in it, like rainbow prism, prismatic rainbow, something like that. And then the other one that I made was mermaid, and I made that for Roxy. So these were pretty easy. I used the Musselburgh hat pattern by Isolde Teague, which comes in a variety of sizes, and it is for baby up to adult, and then it is kind of a, I don't want to say a hat recipe, but you start the first little bit and then you measure your gauge, and then it will tell you how many stitches to increase up to and how long to knit based on the size that you're making and the gauge that you're getting. So it is a little bit of plug and play, and it's a useful pattern no matter what kind of weight yarn you have. And it goes down to 5 stitches per inch and up to 6 or 7 stitches per inch. So you can kind of use anything from worsted DK to a fingering weight. So that is done and ready to go. So I am excited about that one. In the category of almost finished, if we had waited until tomorrow to record, I probably would be finished with this one, but I'm not quite. I have my antique Flora sweater. So this is, I guess maybe I'll bring it next week if I don't ship it out this week, because I don't know quite what's going to happen to it. So this might be the last time you see it, or it will be the next to the last time you see it, but it will be done this week and probably even tonight. I'm very excited about this. So Antique Flora is a pattern pattern by Wool and Pine. It is a top-down colorwork sweater. I have been talking about it since the beginning of October, so I'm not going to go into any huge level of detail. I am using Zen Yarn Garden's Superfine Fingering Merino in teal and teal spatter, and I have been working on this for a while. I'm knitting the size 37 bust, and I am knitting it per pattern. The only thing that I made choices on was I made the choice to not knit the ribbing up at the top as long as it wanted. There were kind of two options, and it said you could do it really long or you could do it a little bit shorter, and so I went and did it a little bit shorter. Otherwise, I think I've been going exactly per pattern. The way to get me to knit exactly per pattern is to make it a colorwork yoke so that I have to stay at exactly the right number of stitches and can't really make a lot of modifications. So when I showed you this last week, I had just finished with the body and I was getting ready to start on the sleeves. And as of today, I have a one sleeve fully complete, yay. And this has not been steam blocked yet. I did originally steam block part of the top just to see how it was gonna be, but I haven't steam blocked the rest of it. So it's not done, but the knitting part is basically done. And then I am on the second sleeve and I only have about 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches left, and I will easily crank that out this afternoon and this evening. So by the time I go to bed tonight, this sweater will be done. So yeah. This is a wonderful colorwork sweater. It's got a big colorwork yoke that extends kind of past the sleeve split, and then so you knit it onto the body and onto the sleeves, and then it's just kind of a basic body on the way down and basic sleeves on the way down. Ribbing is 3x1. I don't know what else to say about it. I have had some issues with gauge on it. If you've been watching my podcasts, I had to reknit a portion of it. I think I'm just not a huge fan of a big yoked sweater, but if you love colorwork, this one has tons and tons of colorwork, and for many people who knit colorwork yoked sweaters, they're like, I do the fun part at the top and then it is all stockinette all the way down. Well, this one has extra colorwork, so you can continue to do it for a while. There's still stockinette at the bottom, but it's much less than on some where, you know, you get your yoke pattern right up here and then the rest of the sweater is all plain. I did actually try on the sweater. The sleeves are fairly close fitting, although not super tight. The sleeves are fairly close fitting, and the body can be super close fitting or not, depending on how you're knitting it. There are suggestions from 0 to 6 inches, not degrees, of ease, so you can make it a little bit looser, or you can make it kind of with 0 ease, so it's a kind of slim hugging sweater. So that is where I am at with it, and I am almost done. Like I said, I will finish this sleeve tonight because that's pretty much all I plan to do for the rest of the evening, and so this will be done this evening. When all is said and done, I think I'm going to use a few, well, let me think about this. The pattern calls for 900 yards of your main color, and I think I'm going to use closer to 1,000, but that's going to be closer to 200 yards more because I'm holding fingering doubled. And that is probably due to slight differences in my gauge. So there will be kits available, and I will ensure that they have sufficient yardage because I will let them know what I used to knit this. And so, yeah. So that will be a kit probably available after the first of the year. I will bring this back next week, all steam blocked and ready to go if I have not shipped it off to the photographer yet. I don't know how soon we're going to turn around on this one. So I just wanted to let you know that you may not see this again. I will, of course, take pictures and put them up on my Instagram before I'm done. And there will be pictures and notes on Ravelry if that is safe for you to use. My policy on Ravelry is generally I'm not putting my personal projects on there anymore, but I am putting, I'm sort of splitting the difference, I hate to say. I am not personally using it, but I am professionally using it. If I am knitting samples for a yarn company, I am putting my project and notes in there, because if that is the sample that is actually going to be used for the photography and to, say, sell the kit, I feel like it's important that if I have any notes about what happened in the pattern, that they are there for other folks to follow. It is also a way for the person that I am knitting for to know exactly how much I used and exactly what I did on what I returned to them. So, so this one actually will be on Ravelry if you want to take a look. So, the third project that I worked on / started this week is I actually started on my mom's socks. And I had said I was going to, and then I figured I wasn't going to. And what happened was yesterday I met a friend for knitting, and I brought the colorwork sweater because I really needed to work on it. And I was in the colorwork on the second sleeve. And as we started kind of chatting and knitting, I realized that I could not hold on a conversation and sit in a busy coffee shop and also knit. So what I ended up doing was and also knit on a colorwork pattern with a chart. So luckily I had thrown something else in my bag, and what I had thrown in my bag was the project that I most needed to start on next. And so I started on some socks for my mom. This yarn is, I have to think about this. This is, it's yarn that I can't remember the name of the dyer. I thought I put the card in here, but I might have taken it out. This was yarn that I bought at a shop local to me. It is a local Missouri dyer. It is on her perennial base. Her brand is something about garden. I'll have to see if I can find the label. I have a bag of all the labels, but it is called Blackberry Jam. And it is just really, really luscious. And so I started knitting a sock for my mom. I went through Ravelry and found a bunch of patterns, and nothing really sounded appealing. So I went back to an old favorite, which is the blueberry waffle socks. Now that pattern is written for DK weight. It's a free pattern, and it's just a simple, basically broken rib pattern. It is written for DK weight, but I knew how many stitches I wanted to cast on. So this is how far I got. So it's just a 2x2 rib up top, and then a broken rib in the sock itself. The pattern does get a little bit obscured in the beautiful yarn, but that is fine. It gives me something to kind of play with. Oh, look, it's pooling a little bit. Gives me something to play with a little bit and to knit along, and I'm really liking the colors. They're just nice fall colors. My mom had requested a new pair of socks because she has really tiny feet, like size 5.5 feet, and I had knit her a couple pairs of socks and had knit them kind of close fitting, and she said that she was having a little trouble getting them over her ankles. My mom has arthritis, so as she's gotten older, things have gotten a little bit more difficult. So I am actually knitting a 60 stitch sock right now on US zeros, and my plan is to give her an extra row or two in the heel gusset. So these are probably going to fit a little bit more like house socks and a little bit less like skin close socks, but that's fine. My mom lives in California, and basically my guess is she wears her hand knit socks in the winter in California. She'll wear them as slippers around the house, and then she will sometimes take them when she goes to visit the grandkids in Chicago, particularly when it's cooler there, and so I don't think it will really be a problem if they're not like super close fitting. So, and these are not a holiday gift for her, as I'm going to make clear, because I did not knit for anyone else in my family other than the kids. So I'm just going to give these to her as just because gift. I don't really want to give her something hand knit and give everybody else nothing hand knit. And she asked for them, so we haven't discussed it, but she won't be surprised that they're coming. So, yeah. So that is what I'm working on, and these need to be done by Thanksgiving, because that's when I will see her, but I'm not terribly worried about that. If I can finish one of the socks in the next couple weeks before we leave for Thanksgiving, I can finish the second in the car on the way out to Thanksgiving. For the first time since before the pandemic, we are going to drive out to California for Thanksgiving this year, which is something that we have done many years in the past, and celebrate with my family, and my sister and her brother, my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, will be bringing the kids out, and so it's just going to be a really nice time for the 8 of us. And my sister and I grew up in California, so if you're new here, it's not like that crazy that we go. My parents sold the house we grew up in, but they live in a smaller house in the same area, and actually it's always a really nice time at the holidays. We've celebrated in California every year, even though my sister and I both ended up in the Midwest. The only thing that stopped us was the pandemic, and in 2020 we did not celebrate together, and in 2021 and 2022 we met in Chicago, which is where my sister lives, because the Chicago Public School District did something very smart and said that if kids leave for Thanksgiving and go out of the state, they have to quarantine when they get back so that they don't give anyone else COVID, which I actually thought was wonderful, but it meant that we all had to go to Chicago or not at all. And so we've spent the last couple years in Chicago, but we're eager to go back to Grandma and Grandpa's house. I mean, they're my parents, they're not my grandparents, but go back to Grandma and Grandpa's house and spend Thanksgiving in California, which for those of us who live in colder climates means a nice, really warm, sunny weekend before winter really kicks off. It's not always sunny, sometimes it's rainy, but the temperature is always really nice. And my parents live in a coastal town right near the beach, so it's a really nice break from the Midwest. So that is what we will be doing, and hopefully I will finish this up in time. Sorry, that was lots of chatting. The only other progress I made this week, and I thought I would discuss it with you, is last week, actually on the podcast, I showed you what I wanted to knit for NaKniSweMo, and I also mentioned that I had, well, I guess it was on the podcast where I was looking at it, and I mentioned that the yarn that I wanted to use was not the right weight, given the gauge preferred, and the basic yardage per measurement. And so I realized that the yarn that I wanted to use was actually quite a bit thinner than the yarn used in the sample, and ultimately I decided that was kind of a mismatch of pattern and yarn together. And so the next day I kind of went back to the drawing board and thought about like what it was that I might like to make instead. And I opened my Ravelry queue and looked at some of the patterns that I had put in there a while ago, which is one of the few things I still do use Ravelry for. It's one of the habits I've been unable to break myself from, because it's really nice having a list there of all the patterns. I understand that not everyone can use it, but that is something that I still admit I use it for. And then I got a little crazy, and I took all these bins off the shelf, behind me off the shelf, and tossed them all out on the floor and reorganized them. Because what I was looking for was a pattern that I had perhaps favorited in the past, and a sweater quantity that I already had in stash. And so what I did was I reorganized my bins so that all my sweater quantities were in one bin, because my bins were basically very haphazard. I just throw yarn in there, and then I take yarn out to make something, and then there's room in there, so the next time I get yarn, I throw more yarn in there. So I reorganized those bins so that I have a little bit better idea of what things are. Like there's one bin of fingering now, and there's one bin of sweater rate quantities, or of sweater quantities, although not all of them fit in there, but we won't discuss that right now. Anyway, and so I started looking through to see what I had, and started looking through my queue to see what inspired me, and what I came upon was actually not a sweater, well, sort of partially a sweater quantity. What I came upon was that there was a sweater that I had been wanting to make for a while, and it calls for fingering weight yarn held with something fuzzy. The something fuzzy can be mohair, it can be brushed Suri alpaca, those kinds of things. And what I did have in my stash, and I'll show you this first, is that I had this beautiful 74% Suri alpaca, 20% silk, 50 grams, 327 yards from Apothecary Fibers. And I really like Apothecary Fibers. They are, Apothecary Fabrications. This is her Halo lace, and she is semi-local to me. She dies somewhere in Missouri, and she shows up to all of our local fiber shows. She has stock in our local yarn store, and I really love her stuff. I have knit a sweater, the sweater that I knit a couple years, the sweater that I wore last week for Halloween, the orange one, that's her yarn, and she also dyes fiber, and so I have spun a lot of her fiber before. Anyway, I had purchased this at a festival, not this year's Ply-Away, last year's Ply-Away, so 2022 Ply-Away, which is a spinning conference, and I had picked 3 skeins, figuring I would hold it double with something else for a sweater. And so I had these 3 skeins that I put together in my sweater bin, and then I started to think about what I might want to do. And the pattern that I was kind of into picking up was the Sorrel pattern by Wool and Pine. So this is a big Wool and Pine podcast. The sorrel pattern is actually several different patterns knit in several different weights, but the original sorrel pattern was a fingering weight held doubled with something lace weight to come up with approximately a DK weight, and it has dipped stitches that flow out kind of in radials on the yoke. So it is a yoke shaping sweater, but it is not a colorwork yoke shaping sweater, and it is really beautiful. And then they did a summer one, I think all in fingering weight, and then they did a spring one, and I don't know what weight that's in, and some with short sleeves and some with long sleeves, but so that you get the general picture, and I will link to that pattern in the show notes. So as I was cleaning and putting together kind of the fingering weight bins, I was starting to pull things out that kind of had similar color values that I was interested in. And the first one is, this is the one that's actually only really green, and it's got a little bit of blue spruce in it, and I can't remember, I'm pretty sure this is Forbidden Fiber Company, and it was kind of a conifer, Christmas-y, foresty colorway, and I used it, I believe, to make some socks for my nephew, and so I had about half a skein left over, and so I really liked that one. And then I had a skein of Madeline Tosh Merino Light, TML. This one is the old school one because currently they come 400 yards to a skein, but this is actually 420 yards per skein. And this is in the colorway Saltwater. And then I had this beautiful skein of more greens, but also with hints of blue. And this I got, I think this was also a Plyaway purchase, perhaps the same year. No, I bought this before the pandemic, and this is called Vera Bradley, and it is from Geek Girl Fibers, who sadly is no more. It's Geek Sock, and I have knit another sweater with her. I knit my ribbed v-neck crop from Jessie Made in one of her yarns, and I really like her yarns, and so this is that one. And then I had two skeins, and to be honest, I'm still not sure which one I'm going to use. This one right here is a skein of yarn from my, oops, it looks like I got tangled here with my brushed Surrey alpaca. This is a skein of Treasure Goddess Treasure Toes sock yarn in Tharby Sea Monsters, which is not a regular colorway for her. This was definitely like a special dye, but it is kind of greeny and bluey. And so these were kind of the four that I pulled out that I thought might look nice together. So kind of in a gradient. And I was a little unsure about this one because it was very far off the others. And then the other thing that I have is I have this skein here, and it's really soft. It feels like it could be cashmere, and I don't know exactly what it is, but again, it's in the right range. So I haven't decided which one I'm going to use yet, because it does kind of, it works with that one as well, and with these. And so I'm going to use some combination of those. The pattern calls for potentially a gradient of 4, or you can do it all in one color. And so the one thing that I did this week is I knit my swatch. So this is my swatch, and I'm in love with it. The fabric is really gorgeous, and the reason I am showing it to you on reverse stockinette side is because actually the sweater is knit in reverse stockinette, and you knit the top part of it. Will have the dip stitch radials here, so the top two colors probably will have the radials in there, and then the rest of the body you actually flip the sweater inside out, so you can continue knitting it in stockinette, but the side that's facing will be the reverse stockinette side. So that's why I'm showing you that side. It looks nice on the other side too, but on the reverse stockinette side, it really kind of shows the bits of color, and I love the bits of teal that pop out of this one. And so I am really excited about this. And part of my, this was kind of a carrot for me this week because I knit this swatch up several days ago and have been staring at it ever since. And the bottom line is that as soon as I finish my sweater, so if I finish my sweater tonight, that means I can cast on my NaKniSweMo tomorrow night. So I'm very excited about this. And I think it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I'm not really concerned about finishing it in time. If I finish it in time, great. If I don't, that's also okay too. I'll finish it in December, but I am excited about digging into a sweater, and so I am getting ready to do so. So, and that is in my Erin Lane bag, which I absolutely love. It's my Nope bag. So it's her little sheep in a unicorn costume. So those are the knits right now. Let me take a quick sip of tea. I will show you just an itty bitty bit on spinning, and then I'll let you go. So the last couple weeks have been very low on spinning content, mostly because I've been away from home so much, and I also had a bunch of knitting to do. So I am working on a braid from Southern Cross Fiber. I believe this is just Superwash Merino, and it is in the colorway, hang on, I have my book here. It is in the colorway Allegory, and it is Superwash Merino. It is definitely a fall colorway. It's browns and oranges and swampy yellows and greens. And this was the first bobbin that I finished, and I finished the second bobbin this week, and I'm going to see where I am on my sweater tonight, but I might actually apply these at knit night tonight. I can't decide because I really want to finish the sweater tonight, so this might get short shrift, but I might have time to do both, because I still have a little while left before dinner, so I could probably work on the sleeve a little bit before dinner, and then I might have time to both apply these and finish that sweater this evening. So those are my immediate goals, which means it will be time for something else to spin, and I went ahead and pulled some fiber out of my stash. This is Hello Yarn. It was the August 2023 Fiber Club, so by now we're at least, I'm running at least a quarter behind, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. This is called Fig Leaf and Port, and it is on Corriedale, which means it will be lovely for socks. I can't decide if I'm going to put this in the shop or save this for me. We'll probably see what it looks like when it's done. I have so many skeins of sock yarn, so this might go in the shop. I really like Corriedale for socks. I have said this a million times before. Those of you who are regular watchers, you'll remember me saying this. Corriedale is a really nice blend of a little bit of something just a little bit more sturdy, so the socks that they make are not quite as, although I love my Superwash Merino and my Merino Cashmere Nylon and those kinds of things for socks, they do tend to pill a little bit, and I find that Corriedale is just a little bit more rustic, so it doesn't pill, but it is still soft enough that I don't have the itching ankles of doom when I put them on, which I do when I switch to Shetland and some of the other slightly more harder wearing fibers. So this is Fig Leaf and Port, which I love. It's totally my colors. It kind of reminds me of Sugar Plums. It would potentially make a good Christmas sock cast on this year, but I don't know what I will do with it. But this is the fiber, and so this is what I have planned for my next spin, and it might go into my shop, so it might be there soon if that's something that it will make good sock yarn. If that is something, you could obviously knit other things with it, but that is kind of what I love about it. So I'm going to take pictures of that. Maybe that will be the cover for today. And then we'll get that on the spinning wheel this week, I hope. So I think that's about it for me. I hope that you are having a good week. My week was quite good. I got a lot done that I wanted to get done. And I feel like since I spoke to you this past week, life has gotten a little bit back on track, which is funny for me to say because the holidays are coming up, in which case like the whole schedule has gone kerflooey. But the last couple weeks had been so crazy that it was really nice to kind of just get back to a regular routine and like cook and eat dinner at home every night this week and, you know, like not be out and running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So, and I do have more chickens. I'm working on those. I'm working on a purple and white chicken right now. And then I have one that's like in all kinds of like chocolatey browns, like milk chocolate, dark chocolate, caramel, like all of those kinds of things. So I will be working on that. So I hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. I will definitely come back and chat with you again next week. Then things will get a little crazy for the holiday schedule, and I'll have to decide whether I'm going to tape something while I'm gone or exactly what, but I will let you know on the next podcast what to expect, because I can hardly believe it, but we actually are getting towards, well, no, I guess I'll have one more Monday. No, I won't. I can't believe it. We're getting towards the holidays. The schedules are going to be crazy again, and we will actually be gone for about 10 days for Thanksgiving because we'll leave the weekend before and come back the following Sunday. So I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you are enjoying your fall crafting. I hope that the weather is not terrible where you are. We had some very cold days this week, and then this weekend it's back up into the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and so it's actually been really nice. And overall, I just hope that you're well and able to have some fun. So I will say, as I usually do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.